Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast. Once again, thanks so much for all my return visitors and my subscribers. I so appreciate you. If you are not a subscriber, please consider hitting that button. It gives me great opportunity to bring you guys like this. I have Dario Lorina with me today. Dario is a guitarist, singer, producer, best known for 11 plus years now as part of Black Label Society with Zakk Wylde. Dario started his career in 2006 at just 16 years old, hired as the touring guitarist for late singer, Warrant singer Jani Lane. 3 years later, he joined Lizzy Borden, toured with them for 4 years. He'd go on to record a couple of instrumental solo albums on Shrapnel Records. But now, Dario celebrating a brand new band project called Dark Chapel. Their new record is called Spirit in the Glass, and it comes out on February 28th. Dario, it's great to have you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Psyched for everybody to hear the album coming out.
Yeah, I am too, man. I got a peek at it, and it's just there's just so much involved in this record, and it kind of surprised me, and we'll get into that a little bit as to why. But I have to ask you, about your time with Jani Lane and basically your start right out of high school. First of all, how does a 16-year-old kid get that gig?
So, I mean, I started playing guitar when I was young. My family was musical. So I was just around music all the time. And I got a guitar and I was taking guitar lessons as a young kid. And that's what I loved. And when I got into like middle school years, like sixth, seventh, eighth grade, that is all I did. It's all I thought about. It's all I did. I come home, do homework, play guitar. And during the summers, I'd walk across the hall, play guitar. And that was a whole, summers worth of doing that. That's all I thought about doing. I loved it. So when I was in high school, I started. So I was actually in 11th grade, I think. And, my my root, like my base of stuff that I was into and exposed to early on was like 70s, 80s guitar playing stuff. So I was really into all that was floating around in that things I was being exposed to. So when I saw an ad, because MySpace was big at the time, so I saw an ad posted on the bulletin board that Janie was looking for a guitar player. And I was 16, so I was in high school. I don't know, that must have been 11th grade. I was doing a program here in Vegas called the Community College High School, where I was doing half the day of like college entry level courses and half the day of high school. So then I saw the ad. I sent a bunch of emails to this ad, and then they got back to me, and we ended up going back and forth. And they wanted me to record some Warrant songs. So I panned like with Warrant song one side and my guitar solo, my single guitar on the right, and I sent it over to them, and then they were going back and forth with me, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you come out. So I was in Vegas at the time, so they had me come out to LA, and I met Janie in a rehearsal room, and he was a phenomenal drummer, and so he played
Wow.
drums and sang the Warrant songs, and we were jamming on like Uncle Tom's Cabin and a handful of other ones, just at this rehearsal room in LA, and they were like, it went great. So like, yeah, here we go. It was pretty much a few weeks later or whatever, we was doing our first shows, or I was doing my first show with them. And I think that very first show was on Long Island at a place called Mulcahy's, if my memory serves me correct.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I played with Janie for 2 or so years.
Wow.
And that's pretty much the general
That
story of it.
pretty crazy. Out of your junior year in high school, to get that gig.
I did finish high school, though. Make that a point. I did finish
Yeah.
everything online, and I came back when I was in between touring. I was either doing it online or going into like they had this office there. I go in and complete what I was working on, and yeah, made it to the end. All that.
Good
Um,
for you, man. Good for
yeah,
you. Um, you're catching Janie at, Janie struggled, and we all know that. But you're catching him at the end of his life, unfortunately. In 2011, he passed. You were with him in 2006 for a couple of years. Did you experience anything in that time, or did he impart anything to you as a young kid? That you still carry with you today and into your career now.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was. We know he had his demons that he battled at times, but when he wasn't, drinking at all, he was an amazing person. And um, I mean, I was so young. I was just wide-eyed, and my ears were open, and I learned so much from every aspect of everything. But he was extremely supportive, and I forget exactly what it says, but I have this poster hanging up here that is from a show. You can see that Warrant
Yeah,
poster right there, and
yeah.
um, he wrote this long note on it and signed it to me. I think my dad had it. Ended up having Jani like write it out again on like a separate sheet of paper. But yeah, it was he was extremely supportive, and he was psyched that like my family was supportive and behind me. So yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah, that's great. It's good that you got a start with a guy like that. That's that supportive and good to work with for sure. Um, the record, we got Spirit in the Glass. You're coming out of you're still doing Black Label Society. Let's get that on the table, right? You're
Yeah,
still part of
absolutely.
Black, of course. Um, but this is a little bit different. I hear this and I was a little bit, it was really a refreshing thing to hear you doing your own thing. Being part of Black Label, it's Zakk's band. We know that. You're doing Zakk's thing. Here, it's really, it feels like you, for sure. This is your thing. Um, any specific intention with this record? Did you want to, because you haven't been able to really showcase yourself, in Black Label. Great gig. Anybody'd give their left arm for it. But, you don't get a chance to showcase you or something that you specifically wanted to do. Was there any specific intention with this record to bring out that, something that you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing a Black Label, and Zakk and I do a lot of fun stuff live, going back and forth. And on the past couple albums, I've been playing. We've been going back and forth doing solos, so we've had a lot of blasts. Like he'll send me the track, and he's like, "Here's your spot. Write some solos to it." And so that's been amazing. And but as
Cool.
far as like Dark Chapel, there was no like specific. It was just music that I am writing, and whether that's the heavy guitar-driven stuff or that's like Dead Weight, Dark Waters, the more either piano, acoustic, singer-songwriter style, or like, then it gets into Bullet in Our Chamber at the end, which is like All That Remains have like a heavy bluesy vibe to it. So it's more so it's just whatever vibe I'm in, sitting down writing, and what's coming out. This is the group of these 10 songs is like this is what Dark Chapel's sounding like.
Okay, cool. And you're a lot of times you'll mirror the way you guys play together. I've seen you play together in video and stuff with Zakk, and it's kind of like that Slayer thing where they're mirroring, the guitars are mirroring each other, and it's amazing to watch how great you guys are together. But there's that pinch harmonic thing that Zakk is, it's a signature style. Were you careful to, like, when you're doing this stuff, you got to be used to using that technique a lot, playing with Zakk. Were you careful not to go there a little bit, on this record? I don't hear a lot of that. I hear you, and I don't
Yeah.
hear Zakk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't even something that I would think about. It's just kind of I'm writing for the song and for the part in a sense. So whatever feels like that piece is requiring is kind of what's coming out. But a lot of it is just it's a natural. Whatever's coming out is natural. So there might be some of that, and who knows, somewhere down the line. But yeah, I guess it just didn't end up here.
Yeah, and it does sound natural. That's what I mean. I feel like I'm really getting you on this record, and that is really cool. That was refreshing to hear because I did expect a little bit of that influence. You played with him for 11 years plus now. I expected some of that to show up, but it really doesn't. I'm really authentic you here.
Yeah, I mean, how I look at it is like, I did the two instrumental albums, which were my solo albums on Shrapnel with Mike Varney.
Mhm.
And, I had the first one in 2013, which is just before I joined Black Label. And then I had the second one, which was Death Grip Tribulations, after a few years in Black Label. Um, that to me is like now it's just a continuation of that. I'm just now singing on top of it. And of course, the writing and playing is going to evolve through years into the next thing, but that's kind of how I see the journey of it.
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned before, you mentioned Dead Weight and Dark Waters. And I wanted to talk to you about the sequencing on that. It's right in the middle of the record, the sixth and seventh track. Um, they're together. Now, Dead Weight's a piano ballad. It's your voice and piano. Dark Waters, your voice and acoustic guitar. And they partner together here. You sequence those two together. It told me they really fit nicely together, I thought. Um, with the sequencing of the album, did you how much weight did you put on that? Did you spend a lot of time thinking about that? Did you have reservations about putting those two together right in the middle of the record? Tell me about sequencing the record.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely spend time on that with every like same thing with my instrumental albums, and how I'm thinking of it is somebody or myself listening from to the album from beginning to end, like the story that album is going to tell or the feel it's going to give you from the beginning to the end of the album. Um, and that can be on a physical album or CD, or if you're listening front to back off Spotify or Apple Music, same kind of idea. And I'm trying to sequence it like I would a live show where the energy is coming out, um, driving and fast, and then it kind of the energy is going to come down a little bit in the middle of the album, which is where Dead Weight and Dark Waters are. And then, like if it was show wise, you want the energy to come back up. So I did play with it a little bit to see, and it's like if I put it anywhere else, it felt like the energy dipped either too soon or too late. So that felt like a good spot for it.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the flow of, I think Glass Heart then goes into Dead Weight, because the album comes out hot and heavy, and then Glass Heart is hot and heavy, but has more of a pulled back groove to it, and then that brings it down into Dead Weight, Dark Waters, and then brings you back up with the rest of it. Yeah,
Yeah, and I love the fact that you thought about all this. Because nowadays we're in a singles world, we're in a digital world. The album, classic, standard 12-inch record that we go on a journey with is being ushered out with the digital age a little bit. We're getting songs, but we're not getting full journeys. So I appreciate the sequencing of a record because I'm old school. I love to listen from beginning to end and go through that journey. So, it
yeah,
was,
because that's as much of a piece of the art as creating the record is. It's
uh,
the sequence of it is a part of the whole art of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Totally, totally. Your voice on this record, that another surprise. Now, I don't know if that's a surprise necessarily, because we hadn't really heard you sing, but uh, it's just sounds great, man. I mean, and there's a lot. It's not just a vocal track. You're doubling up on the vocals, you're layering, there's harmonies. How much time did you put into the vocals? And do you consider yourself as much a vocalist as a guitar player? We see you as a guitar player. We see you as this great guitar player that's, side by side with Zakk, and there's we expect that. But the singing is just as powerful here. It's really, really well thought out and managed. So how much time did you put in, and what do you think of yourself as a singer and a guitar player?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think of myself as a musician, but I definitely, of course, think I'm a guitar player, and everything else kind of just going to fall into place from there, hopefully, as far as singing. But I mean, I just think of, I love playing music. So guitar is my, you know, that's my world. But I love playing piano with what I can play on the piano, and acoustic guitar. I love all styles of music. I mean, a lot of styles of music, and I love like the singer-songwriter style also, which is like, you know, represented on Dead Weight and Dark Waters. As far, you know, when I was playing with Jani, so I was 16, 17, 18 years old, around there. So probably towards the end, maybe around 18, 19, I met a vocal teacher that he had when he was a teenager. His name was Ron Feldman, who has since passed away. He was an amazing guy. And Jani would always joke with me, like, you know, because I was young. This was my first start. And he would always be like, hey, you got to learn how to sing and you got to learn how to play slide guitar, you know? So those things were always in my head. But when I met Ron through Jani, after one of the shows, I think we were playing in Florida. So this was like late night. He's like, okay, we're going to go back to your room. I'm going to give you like a vocal lesson. So he was, you know, showing me vocal exercises and hand on the chest, hand on the belly, and breathe from your diaphragm. And, you know, I had no idea what I was doing. But then after that, I got home, and he was just like, all right, we're gonna do this singing thing. And he met with me once a week on Skype, and he would show me, you know, how to sing scales. And within that, he was showing me like how to play those scales on the piano. So it became like a voice piano thing. So I was playing the scales on the piano and singing the scales. And that turned into like, okay, this week I want you to learn this song so you can sing and play it in the piano. And that was like a few years of that.
Wow.
So that was 1920 area, 21. And then I was playing with Lizzy Borden just after that. So I was singing harmony with Lizzy, doing a lot of harmonies, still doing voice work with Ron. And he would have me try to, like, you know, write a song this week, or in 2 weeks, I want you to have this song you were working on done. And then that was my whole start with that. And then I was just constantly, same thing I would do with the guitar as far as always sitting down playing. Now I'm just sitting down, putting into Pro Tools, like I'm writing a riff, writing a verse, hearing a melody, trying to sing it. And then over time, you get, you know, your voice is like a muscle. You got to work it and get stronger. And so that was kind of my journey with that. And then over those years of writing songs and demoing, like I got it to this place of like, okay, cool. I feel like these songs I have now, I'm ready to kind of put out there, which is now it's become Dark Chapel and Spirit in the Glass.
Yeah, that's pretty great, man. I love the confidence in the voice. You know, not everybody has that, especially, you know, great guitar players. You know, they voice something, they sing, but they're not, you know, they don't consider themselves singers or, you know, have that confidence. Would you take a gig just as a singer?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, you could do it. You know, there's evidence here. You know, you could definitely do it.
Yeah, when I recorded the Glass Heart music video, the director was like, hey, let's try a shot where you're not playing and you're just kind of like with the mic. And it felt like such an odd departure. And I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Your voice very reminiscent of. It reminded me of Lane Staley, Alice in Chains, even Chris Cornell at times. And so, you know, obviously, I was brought back to that early '90s grunge movement thing. Not the music so much, but the voice. Especially like Dark Waters brought me back to that Sap, Jar of Flies era of Alice in Chains. Was that a big influence for you, especially with your voice, that '90s grunge thing?
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid in the '90s, like a young kid. So that was definitely from Boston, and there was this awesome radio station, WAAF, which I don't think is any longer, but you know, that station had all that playing all the time. There's a lot of Metallica, a lot of all the '90s stuff happening. I loved Alice in Chains. And when I got into like singing, I don't know if I would necessarily point to that as like it's a definitely huge overall influence as a musician, but like singing wise, I don't know if I would point to that necessarily. It's probably a lot that I've absorbed, you know, not realizing that you're absorbing it. But I love like bluesy, like soulful singing. So like, you know, any like a lot of the Motown stuff or like Ray Charles,
Yeah.
uh, all that kind of stuff. There was this guy that I really was into for a long time, Ray LaMontagne,
Hmm.
um, and I loved his voice, and I discovered him just as I was learning to sing. So I learned a few of his songs trying to sing them, which were extremely difficult for me at the time. But that's the style of singing that I loved, and if I would try to like emulate a sound, it would be that. But then your voice is going to do what your voice is going to do, and you develop your own thing as you kind of work with it. You know.
Sure, sure, and again, it feels like you too. That's what I love about this record. Really, is I feel like I'm getting you in all facets, which is really great. That's what I wanted when I before I even put it on. I said, I want to hear what Dario's got to say, what he sounds like, his style. I didn't really, I love Zakk, but I didn't want a Zakk record. I wanted a Dario record, and that's what we get here. It's pretty great. Um, the have you played anything for Zakk when you did this? From the album, have you played anything for him? Given him a
So
listen?
when I had just finished the album, like getting it mixed, and as I was working on the mixing, I sent him several songs, 3 or 4 songs, and I think they were Dead Weight, Hollow Smile, Glass Heart, and maybe Dark Waters or one of the other ones. So he heard it, he was digging it, you know what I mean? And
It's cool.
yeah, and then now he's hearing it again as it's coming out. But yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You've played lag guitars for a long time, but I see you with Zakk's custom Wild Audio line, the Schecter line, all the time now. And they're just killer. They're killer looking, and I'm sure they're just killer to play. What instruments do we hear on the Dark Chapel record? Are you a guy who, brings in 3 or 4 uh, guitars on each song? Are you one or two guitars for the whole record? What do we hear here?
I'm a pretty much. I mean, this one was all done with one guitar, and yeah, I love all that Wild Audio stuff. It's badass. So I recorded half this album several years ago, and I was doing it with my Les Paul, and then when I came back to finish the rest of it, as I was finished the writing and recording, I just stuck with the Les Paul. So it's one guitar through the whole album.
Wow.
For the rhythms, for the leads, it's all that. And yeah, I mean that's kind of probably what I would do continuing. But you might want to like if you want a certain sound, it's like well, let me take out a Strat or whatever to get this single coil clean sound or whatever. But on Glass Heart, it was just the Les Paul with the pickup selector in a different spot, just
Yeah.
rolled back off the volume a little bit.
Right.
On my instrumental albums, I did bring in like this might have just been in my head where I'm like, well, this guitar has a different pickup, so I'm going to put this guitar on this side and this guitar on this side to try to get a blended, layered sound. It's all about just being creative. So you never know. Depends what your ear wants to hear. But
Yeah.
Dark Chapel, this Spirit in the Glass was all the Les Paul, JCM 800, and mic'd up in a 412 with the overdrive, pretty much.
Cool. Yeah, and I listened to it, and it does so much, and there's a lot of intricate things here, and there's a lot going on, but it sounds simple. It's simple and straightforward. It's not a Dream Theater progressive kind of record. It hits you, just hits you. But there's these little things like the vocal layering and things like that. That really make it interesting. But at the same time, it's simple in its approach. These riffs are just, for that one guitar, they're so crunchy and in your face. It's really, really sharp. And then, the acoustic stuff, the same. Just so delicate and beautifully done. Really great production here too. Um, Playing uh touring with Zakk has to come with some pretty great stories, memorable moments. You got one particular moment that comes to mind right away?
So it's been 11 years of it's always awesome out there, playing with Zakk and playing with the guys in Black Label. I mean, there's been so many, I mean, highlight moments. Playing Royal Albert Hall in London was pretty amazing. We shot the Trample Down Below music video there as well. It was like live shot. So that was pretty special. There was a ton of others like playing a lot of the awesome festivals. We played this Woodstock festival in Poland, which was just massive, massive festival. Joining Zakk on the cover of Guitar World, which was, you know, a huge highlight, and that was amazing. So there's a lot that you could list, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, bravo to Guitar World too, for doing that. Because so many times, you know, the other guitar player isn't thought about. You know, you got your celebrity, you got your guy who runs the show, you know, and he's this image, and you know, they don't really recognize Guitar World. They put you both on the cover. That's great. I loved seeing that because you know it's a group thing. You know, you guys work so well together, and they recognize that. That was really cool.
Yeah, Zakk's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's he's just so good. Have you seen the roast? I watched the roast last night from 2012, where you know, a bunch of comedians, Jim Florentine and Jim Norton, you know, are roasting Zakk. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen clips of that. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
pretty cool. It's pretty funny. Him and Sharon. You know,
Yep, absolutely.
yeah, it's pretty cool. You've got to experience some times with Sharon, possibly Ozzy, right? And I mean, he calls her mother, his mom. You know, that relationship. How great is that when you know to be around? Is that a really constructive thing for you to be around?
Are you referring directly to Zakk and Sharon, or?
Yeah, and Sharon and his relationship there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've only met them, you know, here and there through passing, being with Zakk, but
Yeah.
uh, you know, Zakk started with them extremely young, and
Hmm.
when you're in a band, the band becomes like your family, and when, of course, then you're in it for a long time. I mean, you're traveling together, you're doing everything together. So yeah, it
Yeah.
becomes like your family, as like Zakk and Bob ran out of me, you know.
Right, right. And that's yeah, that's what I'm getting at is you know, that has to help with your relationship too. You know, with Zakk and you know, being on the road so long and you know, being with him for so long. It's great. I love to see that family type thing. It's really cool.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's total Black Label vibe is family.
yeah, yeah. It's you know, and we get that, you know. I mean, you can see that, you know, it comes off really well. Um, So what's next? You have the Dark Chapel record out, or it's coming out February 28th. Spirit in the Glass. Will there be a tour? You know, I know Zakk's doing some Pantera dates. You know, is there a Black Label Society record in the works? Are you going to tour on this Dark Chapel record? What's on the agenda for you?
Yeah, so Dark Chapel album comes out February 28th, so that's, I think, exactly 4 weeks from today. We got more Dark Chapel singles and videos to come, and this is just the beginning for Dark Chapel. So we just did our first couple shows last week as a band, as Dark Chapel, opening for Zach Sabbath in New Orleans and Little Rock, so that was amazing. And we have our album release show coming up March 1st in Vegas at Vamped. Um, awesome rock club here. We got Don Jameson, the comedian, as our opening guest, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Um, so we're looking forward to everything with Dark Chapel, and it's like I was saying, it's just the beginning, and we're working on a ton of stuff. So we'll definitely be on the road. We definitely have plans for that. Black
Yeah,
Label, we got the Milwaukee Metal Fest coming up in May,
nice.
which is going to be awesome. Yeah, and then more Black Label music to come, and Black Label will definitely be back on the road.
There is more Black Label music. It's been a little while, you know, a few years, but
Yep. Well,
there.
we just had the Gallows single come out a few months ago,
Mhm.
and yeah, definitely more to come.
Cool, cool. Yeah, and let me ask you about the videos, since you mentioned it. You got two out there now. Glass Heart and Hollow Smile. Uh, what can we expect? How many more can we expect? What's next?
Yeah, there'll be more to come. There'll definitely be more to come.
Yeah.
But the album's approaching fast, so we got 4 weeks and the whole thing will be out.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I hope to see you in Chicago. Dario, man, it's been great. Yeah, and we'll check darkchapelband.com for all the tour dates and all the socials, links, and everything else, and to pre-order the album. Spirit in the Glass comes out February 28th. Dario, man, it's been great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate for having me. And yeah, talk to you soon. See you in Chicago.
All right, man. Take care,
Take
bud.
care. Bye,
All
man.
right. Bye-bye.